Welcome to the World Famous Adventurers Club. My name is Grant McComb, member 1231, and it is my absolute pleasure to introduce our speaker tonight, Mr. Michael Lawler, and his program, The Victory Lap, a complete circumnavigation of the globe, visiting all 7 continents in 4 months. This was Michael's 3rd circumnavigation. His first was at the age of 19 as a student on the semester at sea. Then in 2010, Michael and his then girlfriend, now wife Barbara, completed a 3-year circumnavigation in their own 47-foot sailboat, Traveler, visiting 61 countries on 6 continents. Michael was on the USC sailing team and has raced 7 Transpacks, including 2019 race where he carried an Adventurers Club flag and was the first to finish the cruising class. Michael has also raced in the 25 Newport to Ensenada races, including the one just last month with an All Adventurers Club crew. He also has a 100-ton captain's license by the U.S. Coast Guard. He is an active member of the Lido Isle Yacht Club and the Corsair Yacht Club. Michael is a past president of the Adventurers Club and a member of the Explorers Club and the Travelers Century Club, having been to 130 countries around the world. Michael was born in Newport Beach and graduated from Newport Harbor High School, USC, and Western State Law School. He was the finance director for President Reagan's inaugural ball as well. He has been an estate planning attorney since 1981 and is the managing partner of the firm Lawler and Milligan. He served as a judge pro tem at the Orange County Superior Court and was the chairman of the Orange County Bar Association's Trust and Estates section. He is also the king of Redonda, a tiny uninhabited island in the Caribbean. Michael and his wife Barbara live on Balboa Island, and they keep Traveler in a mooring off the North Bayfront of Balboa Island. Please join me in welcoming Adventurers Club past president, circumnavigator, His Royal Highness, the King of Redonda, the Honorable Sir Captain Michael Lawler.
Wow, Grant, thank you very much for that kind introduction there. And thanks for, not messing it up. I did the speech at a yacht club recently, and the guy totally messed it up. He goes, our speaker today did this amazing thing. He took his 47-foot cutter, and in just 3 years from Newport Beach, he circumcised the entire world. I promise to keep my cutter away from you all this evening. But a little bit about my charming bride, the Queen of Redonda here, Barbara Lawler. She's equally as adventurous as I am, also a better sailor than I am, true, and done 6 Transpacks, many Newport to Ensenada races, captain's license, 100 countries around the world, and my travel partner and my partner in life. So thank you very much. Yeah. So our talk tonight is about the Victory Lap. And you're probably wondering, why that name? Why Victory? What's the Victory all about? Well, many of you know, but not all, so I'm going to share with you. Almost a couple of years ago, I was diagnosed with lung cancer. I was actually playing tennis with my son, Scott, and leaned over to pick up a ball, and I felt this weird pain in my chest, and I asked him, what's going on? Because Scott's a medical doctor, and he said, that's very serious, Dad. You ought to go get an x-ray. So I did, and it came back positive for adenocarcinoma. What a shock, because I've never smoked. And so I went through a summer of chemo and radiation together at the same time. I went to Hoag Hospital 36 consecutive days to be treated for radiation. And all of that didn't work, and I crashed. And then I was in the hospital with sepsis and double pneumonia. I mean, I really didn't know if I was going to make Christmas. And they thought I was circling the drain. And then I got pleural effusion and pericardial effusion and AFib, and I had COVID on top of all that too. And then I got better, surprisingly. I had a surgery. They removed my left lung, the lower lobe, and I got it.
The tumor was larger than when it started.
Yeah, the tumor was more than 12 centimeters, bigger than your fist. And so it's a hell of a way to lose weight. But and then I started taking this magic pill called Tagrisso. It's very expensive. It's $500 a pill. And I have to take a pill a day for the rest of my life. But it's working. It's keeping me alive. And I just had, this week, I'm pleased to report, my 7th consecutive PET scan with no cancer found. Yeah. Yeah. I beat stage 4 lung cancer. Not many people can say that. So we celebrated big time by taking a victory lap around the planet. So this is our talk here. Phoebe? How do we advance the slides? We're ready? Okay. So we traveled by plane, train, cruise ship. By plane, I mean, we took 34 different flights on different airlines, and it was a mess to try to organize and book all of this. We had help with a travel agent, but I kind of designed where to go and everything. Train, cruise ship, we had 4 cruises. The longest was 5 weeks in the Med. Bus, limo, pedal rickshaw in India, tuk-tuk, whitewater rafting in Bhutan, hot air balloon rides in over the Valley of the Kings in Luxor, sailboat. We also traveled by camel, elephant, horseback, dinghy, and kayak. So just about everything you can imagine. Next. This is the map here. So we left from LA and went to Honolulu, Australia, worked our way through Southeast Asia, India, and then into the Med, and stopping in Morocco, and then did a cruise through Spain and Italy, Croatia, and Greece, and then spent some time in Egypt, and then flew back and went to South America, where we went out to the Galapagos Islands and then down to Antarctica, and also Patagonia to the Torres del Paine, the most beautiful parts of the Andes in southern South America. So altogether, 12 countries, maybe 13 if you count Antarctica, and all 7 continents in just a little under 4 months. So our first stop was Honolulu. We did that just to kind of break up the trip on our way down to Australia, celebrated there. We've been to Hawaii, I've lost track, at least 30 times or so. Many of those by sailing. In fact, Dr. Eric Flanders was our crew member on our Transpac in 2011. And it was at the halfway party where I decided I was going to marry Barbara, and I proposed to her. Yeah. Thank goodness she said yes, because we were in the middle of the Pacific at the time. Yeah. So then Sydney, Australia. How many here have been to Sydney? Isn't it wonderful? It's probably one of the best cities in the Southern Hemisphere, I think. So much going on there. And we got tickets to the Opera House and saw the Phantom of the Opera and cruised around and went to the Nautical Museum and really enjoyed Sydney very much. Next. Then up to the Great Barrier Reef. Have anyone here been diving at the Great Barrier Reef? Isn't that amazing? So we were concerned because we heard that the reef is bleached out. It's all white. There's not that many fish. It's not that colorful. Not so much. We found it fabulous. Lots and lots of healthy corals, hard and soft corals and beautiful colors and lots of fish. Anything you want to add to that? You got the mic?
Oh, no.
Okay. Well, just chip in. You know, if there's anything that you need to correct, like it was really a Tuesday and not a Wednesday, just let me know, okay?
I'm a wife. That's my job.
So then we went up to the Daintree Rainforest, and that bird that's on the right, Bob, you're the birder in the group here. That's the cassowary. It's nearly the size of an ostrich. It's over 5 feet tall, and it has a claw like what was the Velociraptor in Jurassic Park? So it's got this nasty claw, and if it feels threatened at all, it'll just come over and attack a human. It's the only bird that's known to be aggressive and actually kill humans. And it takes that claw and just goes right across your belly and disembowels you. So we were there, and the guide says, Michael, you're way too close to that bird. I said, well, I'm just getting a quick picture. And then Barbara found this lobster on the beach here, too. Daintree rainforest is pretty amazing. It's one of the oldest rainforests in the world, too.
Next. You don't just find a lobster on the beach, right? So, right. So this is a molted lobster. It was absolutely in perfect condition, but it had walked out of its shell. And the legs were on, everything. It was actually very beautiful.
So our next stop was Thailand. We flew up to Bangkok, and of course, had to go by and see the royal palace and pay my respects to the king there. And then we went up to Chiang Mai and hung out with some elephants there. How many here have been to the elephant rescue farm there in Chiang Mai? I know some of you guys have. It's pretty amazing, isn't it? Isn't it cool? Yeah. So that was Thailand. A stopping point on our way over to the Kingdom of Bhutan. Now, this was really special. So a year ago, Barbara and I went back to New York to the very prestigious annual dinner of the Explorers Club. And there's a VIP luncheon ahead of time. David, you were there with us. Yeah. And it's just random seating, tables of 10. And the guy next to me looked very interesting. And so everybody in the room is like a super overachiever and celebrity in the world of adventure and exploration. So I asked this guy, what's his story? What are you here for? And he said, he's with tourism for the Kingdom of Bhutan. I go, oh, I know where the Bhutan is. I've been to Nepal and India and Himalayas and China. I'd very much like to go to Bhutan. I hear it's really beautiful, but I hear it's really hard to get into. I was kind of baiting him a little bit there. He goes, oh, I could get you in. No problem. You should come. You should come this summer. You should come as my guest. Okay. So what was your name again? You know, I got his email, and we exchanged emails, and next thing you know, we've got a 9-day trip planned to the Kingdom of Bhutan. I told him I have this narrow window where these are only dates that'll work, and he goes, oh, that's a problem because the kingdom was still closed to foreigners because of COVID, and it wasn't going to reopen until a month later. So he said, I'll have to get special permission from the family, meaning the royal family. So he went to college, and his roommate, by coincidence, was the Prince of Bhutan, who's, I think, now the king. So he asked a favor, and we got permission, royal permission. We were there as the guests of the King of Bhutan, the only foreigners in the country at the time, and the first visitors to the country after being shut down for 2.5 years. So everywhere we went, we were kind of like celebrities. It was really cool. So we had to get the outfit. What do you think, huh? And Barbara, tell us about your outfit there, sweetie.
Oh, yours is called a go, and I've actually forgotten what mine is called, but they were laid out on the bed when we arrived at our second hotel, and they were waiting for us downstairs, and we're going like, how do you put this on? And what you can't tell is that Michael's outfit comes out to here on this side, and out to here on this side, and it's wrapped in back. So we had no clue how to do this. So we bunched it all up, tied the belt around. I took the skirt, wrapped it up around, put a belt up high like this, and everything was falling. And we walked downstairs, and they laughed and laughed and laughed. But they're a polite country, so it's they should not be laughing at us. So they're all like, and I wish we had a before picture and then the after pictures. So they took us apart, and also there's no pin or anything at the time. And the gal undid her top and gave me her pin to pin it closed. It was just an amazing experience just to get dressed.
So one of the highlights of this trip was we wanted to trek high in the Himalayas above 10,000 feet elevation, which is a bit of a challenge for me with one lung and cancer and all that. But we wanted to go up here to the Tiger's Nest Monastery on this cliffside high in the Himalayas. And I took the Adventurers Club flag with me, and I brought it here. It's back. This is it. This is the very flag here that flew over the magic Tiger's Nest Monastery in the Kingdom of Bhutan. Yeah, that was really special. Glad I made that. Then our next stop was India, where we went to the Taj Mahal. I mean, got to go to the Taj, right? How many here have been to the Taj Mahal? Isn't it amazing? And not many people know this, but it's truly a love story. So this was the, what was his name? The head of India, the Maharaja. And he fell in love with his wife and loved her so much, and she died at a very young age unexpectedly. And he mourned her death and built this Taj Mahal for her memory. This was for her. And he had a little space saved for himself later. Well, his son thought the dad was going nuts over grief and spending way too much money, his inheritance. And so he orchestrated a coup with the generals to depose his own father so that he could become the Maharaja. And his father was imprisoned in the fort nearby, the Agra fort, with a view of the Taj Mahal. So every morning he woke up with the sun rising over the Taj Mahal. Such a sad love story. Wow, they should make an opera about it. And then we went to New Delhi and did the obligatory pedal rickshaw around town. And I got another outfit there at the hotel as well. Love my costumes. And then we went over to Italy, and where we met up with the rest of the family. My son Scott and Kelly were there because their brother Brian, my son Brian, our son, was getting married. And so now they brought in some wedding clothes for us. Up to this point, and the whole rest of the trip, we're traveling around the world with just a carry-on suitcase. But now we needed some clothes for the wedding. So we loved the opera, and so we decided to go to La Scala, and we saw a fabulous show there. So this is my James Bond moment here in the Riva, riding around on Lake Como. And then, of course, there's Brian on the right, and Kelly in the middle, and Scott, and I'm kneeling down there, doing a little water sports and having some fun on the Lake Como. Yeah. And here's the whole wedding picture. This was really the wedding of the century. It was amazing. At the Villa Pliniana, it's built in 1574, and Napoleon was aware of this. And when he took Italy, he purposely went to this villa as his prize for capturing all of Italy, and he kept his staff there. This is it on the left here. So it was already 130 years old when Napoleon was there. Can you imagine? And there was a pool table there that's still there, and it was there when Napoleon was there. So I played pool on the same pool table Napoleon did. I thought that was pretty cool. Anyway, we have a short video here. It's 30 seconds. This is the highlights of the wedding. Take a look at this. Wow. It was a spectacular wedding, I got to tell you. Yeah, a lot of fun. And we went from there to Casablanca and boarded the Semester at Sea ship, which was already underway. This was their 4th port of call, and we are on it for Casablanca, Morocco, to Valencia, Spain, and then Dubrovnik, Croatia, and then Athens, Greece. And right in the middle of their 4-month-long semester, we did a 5-week spotlight voyage. And this is something that was really special for me because 50 years earlier, I was a student on the Semester at Sea at age 19 and did my first circumnavigation, which opened my eyes to world travel, crossing oceans, visiting exotic countries around the world. And I thought, really, I want to do this again someday on my own boat, hopefully, which is what we did on the Voyage of Traveler for 3 years. But here's an opportunity to actually go back and see what it's like to be a student on the ship. My daughter Kelly was on the Semester at Sea for a summer voyage, I think. Yeah. And any of you can do this. It's open to you don't have to be an alumni to do this. So they call this a spotlight voyage for lifelong learners. And it's really quite affordable, too. I feel like I'm selling it. I really am. So we were 5 weeks cruising in the Med, had a spectacular upgraded stateroom for only $9,000 per person. No, per person. But that's pretty affordable still, really. We got a lot out of it, I think.
And we really enjoy going to the classes. You audit the classes, and you go, okay, that's great. I did that one for a week. Let's try something else and get your fix.
Yeah.
You go to classes while the ship's at sea. And during that time period, there was the rescue of the migrants coming over from...
Oh, that slide's
Algeria.
coming up here in a minute.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah. So, yeah, just a second. We'll get to that. So this is, Casablanca. How many here have been to Marrakesh? Isn't it great? So exciting. Yeah. And so we did Casablanca is great. Let's go to the next slide. Then Valencia. So this is actually a cathedral in the center of town where they claim this is the Holy Grail that Christ used at the Last Supper. And, of course, they're famous for their paella. So we had lots of paella almost every meal. The Holy Grail right there. And then next. So now we're cruising from Valencia to Croatia. And this is where we came across some migrants who needed rescuing. They're in the small boat on the right. And one of the passengers on the ship saw them and saw that they were in distress, notified the crew. The captain turned the ship around and came back and stayed by on station just to make sure that they were okay, notified the Spanish Coast Guard, who was in nearby Valletta in Mallorca, and it took them a couple hours to get there. So we're just waiting and watching these people, and they're, hey, and 14 people or something like that, including a little baby on this tiny little dinghy.
2 women, 9 men, and a baby.
They were escaping harsh conditions in neighboring Algeria, trying to get up to a EU country. Yeah. Next. Dubrovnik. Isn't that fun? Who's been to Dubrovnik, huh? This is, among other places, the castle and fortress where they filmed the popular Netflix show Game of Thrones, I think. So, yeah, we did cliff jumping off the cliff into the water, and very much enjoyed our time in Croatia, especially Dubrovnik. Then we took a little side trip up to Split, and another great city, and rented a sailboat and sailed around. That picture of me on the far right, I think Barbara took that picture. So this was a farm to table where you not just sit down and eat the local food, but you actually have to go out and milk the goat and pick the apples that you're going to use to make the apple pie. And so from scratch, we harvested everything first, collected the eggs under the hens, and then made everything and then ate it. So it was really spectacular. And what I'm doing over here is making a bit of moonshine. That's a still, and we're actually making some grappa, which was quite tasty. Yeah. And then moved on down to Athens, Greece, the Parthenon there, and the Corinth Canal on the right. So if you look at Greece, it's kind of hour-shaped, or hourglass shape with a very narrow waist in the middle. And there's actually a canal that goes across there. It's all sea level. There's no locks. And that's how narrow it is. It's just big enough for a regular size yacht or sailboat, but not a full-size cruise ship. So this was built right after the Suez Canal, and it's just a nice way to shortcut around most of the southern part of Greece. And so we did this part of our sailing around through the Med, and it was fun to go back there and see it again. Then we went down to the very charming island of Hydra. We happened to be there when they were celebrating one of their national holidays. And a country like Greece, much like Mexico, they got lots of holidays. They probably have 30 or 40 holidays a year. So this one is called No Day, N-O, No Day. It's like, what's that all about? Well, during World War II, Mussolini and Greece were at odds and were just about to go to war against each other. And Mussolini sent a telegram to the king of Greece ordering him to surrender, or we're going to send in troops and take Greece. And the king of Greece sent back a one-word reply: no. And the Greeks just love that. And so to this day, they celebrate in a big way with parades and celebrating their freedom. Then we went to Egypt, and so y'all familiar with the Nile. Almost everything's on the Nile or on the Red Sea in Egypt. But out to the west is called the Western Desert, and there's nothing there. It's just wide open desert. Well, a few years ago, some guys were cruising around out there, and they found a bunch of whale fossils just like this, actually on the surface, and a high concentration of them. And now you're 200 miles away from the Mediterranean. So these are 30 million year old whale fossils that was at the time called the Theseus Sea. It's now retreated to where just the Mediterranean is. But imagine a big bay like San Ignacio Lagoon, where the whales like to go maybe to give their babies. And it's got a narrow entrance. And then something cataclysmic happened. Maybe there was an earthquake or something, and then that bay became a lake and got smaller and smaller, and the whales just kept coming together more and more, and then they all eventually died. So there's like 70 whale fossils like this, 30 million years old, just sitting out on the desert landscape like this, that you can see within an hour or two just walking around. It's really, really extraordinary. Called the Valley of the Whales. Yeah. And everywhere we went in Egypt, it's required because tourists are a high value target for kidnapping or other crimes. So we had not only a police escort, but we had a private security guard with us the whole time. So the guy in the blue shirt on the right there, if you look closely, he's carrying some sort of an automatic, maybe like an Uzi or an AK or something, and then a pistol as well. But the police truck here on the left, they couldn't keep up with us. Our guys had better four-wheel drive vehicles, and we're doing fine, but they got stuck in the sand, so we had to rescue them, get them unstuck. And we happened to be there, coincidentally, on the 100th anniversary to the day of the discovery by Howard Carter of King Tut's tomb. How spectacular is that? As the guest of the Minister of Antiquities for the country of Egypt. And right next to it is an active dig going on. So they have ground penetrating sonar where they got a weird bounce and they think there's another chamber. Well, they found all of the pharaohs over the last 100 years or more, but Ramses VIII, he's the only one they haven't found. They're pretty sure he's there somewhere, but they're not sure where. So they're looking for Ramses VIII. They think they found him. They're doing this dig, and then they take a lunch break. So I go over there and I pick up a pick, and I tell Barbara, quick, get the camera. So yeah, that's my...
It's another moment where I go, here we go. And there, right as the truck's driving off, Michael's scrambling up there. And, we're getting over there. Okay, got the pictures, and all of a sudden we hear the stop.
Security was all over me.
From all edges is just coming down, and we're like,
okay. Sorry.
That's the pic.
Yeah.
We got our picture.
It's easier to get forgiveness than permission, let me tell you.
Oh, God.
All right. So then it's kind of like the beer can races here, racing these feluccas on the Nile River. It was really spectacular at sunset with some friends, having some wine. And, of course, Africa was our fifth continent going around. So this is at Abu Simbel, pretty spectacular monument in southern Egypt down by Luxor. And the pharaoh at the time built this monument just kind of like as a calling card so that everybody south of there knew when they were getting into his kingdom. This is like the monument sign saying, hey, from this point on, you're in my backyard here, the pharaoh's land. Pretty cool. So, of course, we went to the Great Pyramids of Giza and had the obligatory pictures there with the camels. We got to actually go into these pyramids. So this is not on all the tours, but we got to go actually inside, deep inside, into the burial chamber on these Great Pyramids. It's pretty cool. And then this is the Minister of Antiquities for the country of Egypt. He was our host, and he was giving us a private tour here at Saqqara, which has got some really exciting new discoveries. They found a totally intact tomb that's over 4,000 years old, never been touched before, so they got all this great new stuff. And with it were a lot of mummified animals, pets, cats. And this one here, they had it x-rayed, and it's actually a lion cub. It was the only known lion cub to be mummified. And he's handing it to me. I got to actually, he let me hold this, 4,000 years old. I thought that was pretty cool. And then on the right is the world's most famous archaeologist, Dr. Zahi Hawass, who was our personal guide there at the Sphinx and gave us a private 1-hour tour, giving us an update on all the new stuff of discovery in Egypt. So really, really special tour that we had there. Then we moved on to South America, our sixth continent, and we were in Quito, Ecuador, for a night just to work our way out to the Galapagos Islands. So we boarded a Power Cat ship that had, I think, 12 passengers and 12 crew. It was really very luxurious, and visited, I think, these 7 islands, spending I think a total of 9 nights, was it? And so we were snorkeling and kayaking. We saw the giant tortoise, the penguins that are unique to the Galapagos Islands, of course, the marine iguanas and the land iguanas. This is Barbara snorkeling. How many here have been to the Galapagos Islands? Isn't that amazing? Ah, it really is. Just loved it. Yeah. Very, very special place. Then Torres del Paine. I know the Burns have been there. Anybody else here been to Torres del Paine? Isn't it great? It's just spectacular. It's every bit as beautiful as this picture looks here. This is just typical. So think about the very best of, say, oh God, I'm drawing a blank. Just south of Yellowstone, there's the Grand Tetons, or the Sawtooth Valley of Idaho. So these are spectacular glacier-carved, sharp peaks with beautiful lakes and streams. Lots of guanaco, which is like a cousin to the llama. And their only known predator is the puma or cougar. And there's so many guanacos that it's just easy picking for the puma.
They're related to the camel.
Yeah.
More than the llama.
Yeah, so we rented horses and rode around and saw some just gorgeous, gorgeous countryside. This is a field of wild lupin here on the right. Just a spectacular deal. Then the wind came up. It got really, really windy. I mean, blowing like 40 knots or something. And we're leaning into it here. And in spite of that, we got on a boat with some others, go the next, and cruise. Oh, I guess missed it. So we cruised on this lake in this really snotty weather with icebergs and glaciers, and we saw all kinds of animals, including the condor. The South American condor was there. So our seventh continent, Antarctica, the white continent. So there's 2 ways to get to Antarctica. One is by ship, the traditional way. That's the way most all people would do it. But that means flying down to Ushuaia, which is the southernmost city in Argentina, and you board a ship there, and you cross the Drake Passage. It's 2 days of really, really rough water, the worst ocean in the world to be out on. Think 40 knots of wind or more, 50-foot seas, and oftentimes the conditions are so rough that the captain requires you to stay in your stateroom, and you don't feel like eating. Or you fly across the Drake Passage. So this is the new way to do it. So here's the plane we flew in on, and then in the lower right corner is the ship. So you fly in, land at this base that's shared between Chile and Russia, and then walk down to the water's edge where they have dinghies, and you get in and you go out to your ship. It's very civilized. So here's an example of our dinghy and boarding the ship and these spectacular glaciers all around. We really, really lucked out with the weather there. We had 4 or 5 days of near perfect weather. By that I mean sunny, blue skies with hardly any wind, and cold temperatures, but that's to be expected. It was around 0 Celsius, maybe a high of 2 degrees. In fact, here he goes. So the high, this is numbers posted on the ship. The high temperature was 2 degrees Celsius. The wind was 20 knots when it arrived. After that, it laid down. We hardly had any wind at all. But look at the sunrise and sunset times. Almost the whole time it's daylight down there. When we were there in December, which is the austral summer. So our 7th continent, we made it to Antarctica. Very, very excited about that. All 7 now in just one big trip. And we went kayaking almost every day, 2-man kayaks. We wore dry suits, so just in case you fell in the water, and had a layer or 2 underneath that. And then because it's so cold, you wear these heavy mittens underneath these little spray skirts on the paddles. And so the water temp was a chilly 33 or 34 degrees, just above freezing. And the air temp was around 29. So these are penguins up on that ridge there. Millions of penguins. I mean, there's nobody's going to ever say penguins are endangered species. So these were chinstrap and Adelie and Gentoo penguins. We didn't see any emperor or the king penguin. They're somewhere else. But lots and lots of penguins. And we did the obligatory polar plunge. So this is optional, but of course we couldn't say no. So we trunked it. Here's the moment where we jumped off the ship in our swimsuits into the icy cold water. And if you notice, look how the crew's dressed, sensibly, right? And the guy in the middle, look, he's got his boot up like he's kicking us off the boat. And then if you notice, we each have a belt around us with a line that's tethered. That's just so the crew says it's easier for them to retrieve the body so they don't have to get wet. Yeah. So here's a video of our polar plunge. Just jump right in. And the joke is, yeah, you jump in and you get out just as fast. They made us, there's only a ladder for one at a time, and they made me promise to come up first. Age before beauty. But look at Barbara's face here in a moment here. How cold was it, Barbara? You want to do that again?
There's only one ladder up, and so they said if you're jumping as a couple, decide who comes out of the water first. And yeah, I said, Michael, you got to come out first. That was the longest 3 seconds of treading water. While he's climbing up, you're just going, go, go, go. It was amazing. What are you doing?
We're taking a toast to Shackleton.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Shackleton. Yeah.
Yeah. To Ernest Shackleton.
You know, that's the wet room where they launch the dinghies. You come in and out. It's freezing cold in that wet room, but it feels warm after the plunge.
Yeah. So they give you a nice shot and a towel. All right. How many would do that, by the way? If you were down there and you had that opportunity? Yeah, of course you'd do it. Yeah. Yeah. So this is a chin strap. You can see how it got the name on the left, and then some little pups on the right there. Lots of penguins. And this one on the right here looks like it's doing yoga class. And then the couple here on the left, they're getting ready to do their nesting. And so the male goes down there and swims around and finds little pebbles, white pebbles and black pebbles, and then arranges them around the nest like this. It's kind of what they do. And so there's an example of penguins and our 18-foot Zodiac with, I think it was a 70-horse Yamaha. And we had a really, really good crew showing us around. Highly recommend this. It was, the outfit was called Adventure 21. And they put the whole deal together, the flight and the ship and the crew and the, yeah, you have a question, Steve?
How's the smell?
Oh, the penguins, terrible, yeah. Penguin poop, not my favorite. But you just make sure you're upwind of it. Anyway, the views were actually spectacular, especially on a clear day if you have good weather. It's just unbelievable. The colors of the icebergs and the glaciers, kayaking around. So there were 4 or 5 of us in these canoes. If you see a single canoe, that means it's a guide. All the others were double canoes with the passengers. And it was just really, really fun. Go to the next. So this is a bubble net feed where the humpback whales are circling around us. And listen to Barbara's comment right there. Did you see that? So what happens is 3 or more female humpbacks get together, they all take a breath at the same time and dive together and swim in a circle around krill, letting out bubbles which create the visualization of a net. And the krill panic and they get together in a bait ball. Watch this again. You'll see the whale comes up from underneath and just bumped our kayak just gently, just letting us know he's there. Yeah, pretty crazy. So the rest of the kayakers were safe distance away and thinking that we're absolutely nuts. We were. But we're, adrenaline junkies and we want to be as close to the action as we can get. So the water is just a spectacular color, blue, very, very clear. We saw all kinds of whales, humpback, minke. These are not albino, but they're white killer whales. It's a subspecies where the orca killer whale, same thing, but their skin is white or very, very light gray, and they're only known in this particular part of Antarctica. And there was a family of maybe a pod of, I don't know, a dozen or so that came up to our boat. The captain stopped the ship, and they played around, dove around. We just had fun watching them, and they enjoyed watching us. It was really kind of a fun little...
The babies would come up to the hull, and you could just see their heads butting the hull to see it, because they were going, what is this big thing here? So we were at a dead stop and got to see all the curiousness of the babies.
Yeah, it was really spectacular. Next. So there's a couple more pictures of just how beautiful the ocean is down there with all these different shapes of icebergs, glaciers.
We had great weather, as you can tell. There's not a ripple. Oh boy.
So here's one of the humpbacks just taking a dive.
We should play. No?
I'm not sure. Yeah. So that's the end of the one where we got bumped, I think. That's why the camera's crooked. So here's an iceberg, a glacier who's calving. So we happened to be there. Barbara was quick with the camera, and this whole section of the glacier is breaking off and falling into the water close to where we were. Well, it kicks up a pretty good sized wave. It's like a little tsunami that comes at you very quickly. And our guide warned us that this might happen. He said, don't try to turn and outrun it. You'll never outrun it. What you do is you turn your kayak into it. So you bow into the wave and just ride it out. And so we did that. But I think the wave came into deeper water and it kind of fizzled out as it got closer to us.
But the noise is deafening.
It got our attention, that's for sure.
And you look over, and then the waves coming at you, and you just feel like you're in this tiny little kayak. And they would calve in the next cove over, and that was even thundering. So the minute you hear the cracking going, you just start looking around, because you got to turn into wherever the wave was coming from. Phoebe, does this play? No?
Yeah. All right, go to the next. More pictures of these beautiful landscapes.
These are all taken with my iPhone camera. Halfway through the trip, I just went, I'm through carrying a camera. You know, you take it with your cell phone, so.
Yeah, we had a waterproof case for it. Next. This is the view from our stateroom on the ship. Just another typical morning. Next. More penguins. So here on the right, you can see we hiked up to this little island. That's the ship that we're on down below. It looks really tiny. And then we have a dry suit on with booties. And I'm actually still wearing the spray skirt that we put around the opening on the kayak. Hat and glasses, gloves. And that's the crew and our kayak crew getting together there. And yeah, lots of whales. It was really fun. Anyway, this is one of my favorite quotes here. It's by Mark Twain. 20 years from now, you will be more disappointed by the things that you didn't do than by the ones that you did do. So throw off your bow lines, sail away from the safe harbor, catch the trade winds in your sails, explore, dream, and discover. Thank you all. Thank you all very much. That was our victory lap. Yeah. So before we go to Q&A, I have a special presentation to make. So before we do the Q&A, you heard in the intro about the Kingdom of Redonda. So just a little bit more about that. So yeah, this is my island here, my kingdom. It's a small island in the eastern Caribbean between Montserrat and Nevis. It's only 1 square kilometer. It was discovered by Columbus on his second voyage in 1493, and he named it Redonda, claimed it for the King of Spain. But the King of Spain found out more about the island. It has no water, nowhere to land, no trees, no gold, no people, no nothing. And it's covered in bird shit. So the King of Spain gave it back, but he didn't tell anybody. So everyone thought it was Spanish, but it wasn't. It went as an unclaimed island for the next 300 or 400 years. And this one guy named Matthew Shield figured out, hey, this is the last unclaimed island in the Caribbean. So he went ashore somehow, proclaimed himself to be the King of Redonda, and he passed it on down in lineage. And there was a guy named Robert Williamson who took the title of King Bob the Bald. And he would, by jokingly say, if you bought him a pint, he would make you a knight. You could become a knight of Redonda. And one of my friends was actually a friend of his and was a knight of Redonda. I thought, that's pretty cool. I want to be a knight of Redonda. So I went to Antigua, where he was living, to meet him and become knighted. And he died just before I got there. He died with no wife, no kids, no will, and being a probate attorney, I know a little bit about this stuff. So I declared a royal vacancy, and I was the first guy to go to Redonda, and I went ashore, and I proclaimed myself to be the 7th king of Redonda. So with that high honor comes the privilege of knighting people now and then. So I'm going to take that pleasure right now. So Lance Miller, would you come up, please? This is my crew from the Newport Ensenada race. Yeah. And James, would you come up, please? And also, is Carlos still here? Where's Carlos? Is he in the other room? Carlos, you're missing out. And Grant, why don't you come up here, too? You're the most senior guy on the board here, our first vice president and president pro tem for the night. So Grant McComb, come on up here.
Here he goes, sweetie.
Yeah. Carlos, come on up. You missed it, but you're about to be knighted, my brother. Yeah. So line up right here, please. Face me and take a knee. Just won't hurt a bit. I, Michael, the 7th king of Redonda, have the pleasure of investing you to be knights of Redonda. So you are now and forever shall be Sir Lance Miller and Sir Carlos de la Torre. and Sir James. Well, what do you want to be called? You want to be called the Royal Ski Instructor of Redonda, or the first Captain of Redonda?
I have to import my own snow.
Yeah, Sir James Goodrich here. And we have Mr. Vice President of the Adventurers Club, Sir Grant McComb. You are now and forever shall be Knights of Redonda. Please rise and be recognized.
You want to stand with him for a photo?
Yeah, maybe I'll get a photo here.
Here, take your sword, sir.
Okay. Well, Barbara, you get in here too. You're the queen.
Queen of Redonda.
Yeah.
Oh,
Why don't you get on-
sh-
There we go. How's that for a photo, guys?
Call me his shortness.
All right, thank you guys very much. All right, we got.
Do we have any questions for Michael?
Oh, come on, somebody's got a question.
I got a question.
Yeah, go ahead, Grant.
So you were gone for quite a while.
Yeah.
I've been on a few longer trips through different parts of the world, and one of the things that always caused me grief was doing laundry.
Ah.
What are some of the more practical sides of your trip looking like?
Yeah. Well, we stayed in hotels sometimes that we'd have laundry sent out. When we're on the semester at sea, that's 5 weeks, and they had laundry service there. We just were careful and practical. And do you have anything?
A little bit of hand washing, get out the blow dryer on the back, blow it dry. Yeah, it worked out.
Yeah.
Got a couple clothes along the way.
So in the age of COVID, with lost luggage and canceled flights, and who knows what else could go wrong, we made it around the world, 34 flights, staying in different hotels, 5 different cruise ships, all 7 continents, and never got anything seriously wrong. We never lost a passport or a wallet, never got really sick at anything, never got lost or hurt or anything. So it was really a very successful trip in every way you can think of it. Yeah, Ashley.
Can you tell us about the Newport-Ensenada race?
The Newport-Ensenada race. Yeah, I can. Phoebe, do you have a photo you can bring up? Or, oh, that's our license plate there. The King of Redonda has to have a personal plate, of course. That's like diplomatic plates, don't you think? Yeah. Yeah. So the Newport-Ensenada race, this was the 75th Newport-Ensenada race, and we did it this year on Traveler with an all-Adventurers Club crew. Barbara decided not to race down with me, but she drove the car down so the crew then would have a vehicle to come back, and then she brought the boat back with me. So while we're down there, we're kind of sweating it out, waiting to see how we did standing-wise, because it's on corrected time. It's a handicap deal. And we looked really good, and we finished, like an hour and 13 minutes ahead of every other boat. So we got to just wait to see if we correct out over it. And sure enough, we won. We got the big trophy. We got first place in our class, a big-ass trophy. The Commodore called us up to the stage, presented the trophy to us. It was really, really sweet. We have a video. Phoebe, are you able to bring that up? Maybe not. Okay, so that's the good news. The bad news is 2 weeks later, the Commodore called me up, and she said, Michael, about that trophy, I'm very embarrassed, and I don't know how to say this, but the race committee made a math error in their calculations, and you really didn't win the race. Another boat finished out, they corrected out ahead of you, and they got first place, not you. And I'm like, really? And then she adds, and we want our trophy back. And I go, well, it's at the trophy shop. I just finished putting my name on it. So good luck. You can go pick it up if you want. So she did. She hustled over there, and somehow they got, I don't know, they got the right owner on there. But anyway, so that was our big win. We were winners for about 2 weeks. Yeah, Steve.
I have a question from the internet from one of our members, Jay Nunn.
Oh, yeah, Jay. Yeah.
He asked, he typed in, he goes, due to your debauchery and trickery you like to do, you have any stories on any of your trips of something you snuck in or did something you weren't supposed to?
Well, that list is long and distinguished. I promised to get you out of here before midnight. So
Your Indian visa was expired.
this is probably one of our more famous stories. We just happen to have this slide here. So I asked Barbara, so what do you want to do? What's next on the list? And she goes, well, I don't know. What do you got in mind? I go, well, how about the royal wedding, Harry and Meghan? She goes, you think? I go, yeah, let's go. So we got dressed up. We invited ourselves. We crashed the wedding. And I wore the kilt and the Prince Charlie jacket. And Barbara was rocking it there in her finest with a little fascinator hat. The word got out before we left. We're having a big bon voyage party at Muldoon's in Newport Beach. And Vicky Vargas of NBC News found out, and she called me. She goes, this is Vicky Vargas, NBC News. We want to interview you. We hear you're going to the royal wedding. I go, how'd you find out about that? She goes, I got my sources. So they sent down a TV truck, and we're on the NBC and then the Today Show. We were on the Today Show 3 times, nationwide news. And so we went to London. We went there the Friday before the wedding. We actually went to the church and renewed our own wedding vows in Windsor. And then we're also kind of scouting out the lay of the land, the ingress and egress and the security and the castle and the doors and this, trying to find the weakness in the security system. And so the next day when we got there, we were familiar with what we needed to do and how we needed to go. And everybody's going left, and we went right and around through inside a restaurant and back throughout the kitchen door in the back. And next thing you know, we are past already 4 rings of security without any kind of clearance and got actually into the Windsor Castle, where our next step is to get through this, like, one more stage and one more, and then you're actually in the church where the wedding is, and that's where we got turned around. But Harry and Meghan did a Netflix special, and we are in it on episode 4, about 3 minutes in. This is a screen grab. So of all the footage they could have used, they picked Barbara and me arriving at their royal wedding here. I thought that was pretty spectacular.
We're down in Antarctica, and I'm getting, texts from girlfriends, and these pictures are showing up. You're in Harry and Meghan's video. And I'm going, what? Yeah. But we were cruising through Windsor the day before the wedding, checking out security. The NBC microphone was pulling away from the crowd, and I just yelled, NBC, Vicky Vargas. And it's Robert Kovacic, and he turns around, and we've never met him. We weren't told to go look for him or anything. And he goes, Michael, Barbara, and I'm like, yeah.
He knew our names.
I've been looking for you. We go live in 20 minutes.
And so he goes, come with me. And we jumping over security. Next thing you know, we're back in by the castle. And
then we exchanged phone numbers. He goes, you're going to be on the ground. We're going to be on the roof tomorrow. He goes, take video wherever you're at. Send it to me, and I'll be posting it on NBC. And then we did an exit interview after the wedding.
Probably a mistake, because we'd already had at least a bottle of wine or champagne by then.
But when we finally got kicked out, and then we got kicked out again, they go, please enjoy the wedding in the town of Windsor. So we got to the first pub. They're rocking it out like rock stars. Everybody's partying. And there's a table there that says reserved with nobody at it. And Michael goes, well, it must be for us. So we sit down, and we push aside the reserve, and we ordered our meals. We had the TV right. Well, I'm a teacher. I'm used to blasting. Hi. So, we're just ordering the champagne. We're partying with we thought, what's the worst they're going to do but ask us to get up and leave? Nobody asked us to get up and leave. We had a TV right in front of us. We're partying with everyone there. And then Robert Kovacic texted and said, we need to do an exit interview. And it was like, whoa.
We were smashed.
Yeah.
But it was live on TV, so what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so anyway, now we're friends on Facebook, and he always wants to know what we're up to, and we tell him. Oh, this is another one here. This was the Grammys on the red carpet here, too. That was a couple years ago.
Michael walks right up to the security guard and says, we're not arriving by limousine. Where is the other entrance? And the security guard goes, oh, come this way. And he walks us right in to the red carpet. And we were there and then we tried to get it into the Grammys itself.
But we're standing next to the ABC, and they're doing the interviews and stuff. And one of the producers says to Barbara, your husband, he's got some stage presence. Maybe we should give him a microphone.
No, you'll never get your microphone
They wanted me to
back.
do the
No,
interviews of
give
these
him a
guests coming through. Oh my gosh, yeah. That was pretty funny. Yeah. So then at that Grammys, Deadmau5, who is a really popular DJ, and my son was partying it up, Scott here, was partying it up with Deadmau5 when we were together in Athens, Greece. And he said, Dad, don't worry, I'll be home late. Well, 7 o'clock the next morning, he says, I'm still partying it up with Deadmau5. We're in his penthouse suite at the Athens Hilton. So anyway, I see Deadmau5 on the red carpet here now for the Grammys. And I go up to him, I go, hey, Deadmau5, I'm Scott Lawler's dad. And he goes, Scott Lawler, wow, how's he doing? And so he goes, yeah, say hi to him for me. I go, well, let's take a picture. I'll send it to him. So I got a picture of me and Deadmau5, and I sent it to my son, Scott. And he puts it on Facebook and says, my dad at the Grammys with Deadmau5, and my dad's cooler than your dad. So something like that. Wasn't that right, Scotty? Yeah, okay. Yeah. Anyway, that list is long and distinguished, and maybe for another night. Any other questions about Antarctica or our trip? Yeah, Jim.
Galapagos. So when you came into the Galapagos, when I came into the Galapagos, I was sailing down
Yeah.
60-foot roads,
Uh-huh.
catch, and I had a 21-day cruising permit that I got from the Minister of Defense
Yeah.
of the country of Ecuador. And so when we came in, I swam across the equator.
Oh, nice.
I knew,
wow.
I was the navigator, skipper,
Very cool.
but there's that cove.
Yeah.
At the northern end, and we anchored in there because it was starting to get dark. Boom, and we explored that the next day. Did you happen to go there? There's a cinder cone on the point there where it creates the cove, and it goes all the way down to the ocean.
Wow.
So there are seals playing on a black sand beach.
Wow.
No one can see, you could only see it from here. We climbed up and looked down and we went, this is unbelievable, and camped out there.
Wow.
And I
Very
just
cool.
thought, never met anyone else who's been there to that spot, and I thought, well,
Maybe.
if there was somebody in a
Yeah, it kind of rings a bell, but I can't say for certain. But yeah, it was so everything was so cool in the Galapagos. But yeah, so what Jim's talking about is the equator at sea. So this goes back to ancient days and the British Admiralty. So when a sailor would cross the equator at sea by ship for the first time, you would go from being a polywog to a shellback, and they would have an initiation ceremony, a Neptune Day, where they would bring out all the garbage and do all this. It's kind of like hazing a bit, but it's all fun. And so I've crossed the equator at sea now, I think 6 times or something like that. So anybody other shellbacks here besides? Oh yeah, good. Where did you do yours?
South Pacific, or right in the middle of the Pacific.
Uh-huh.
On the way to Desert Storm.
Oh, nice. Okay. Well, what was that like on the Navy ship there, huh?
They save garbage for weeks.
Oh.
All morning long, they're tormenting you. What are you? What are you? I'm a slimy pollywog. And then they make you crawl through the tunnel of garbage, and then they say, what are you? And if you don't say I'm a shellback, you got to go back and do it all over again.
Uh-huh.
And it's hard to remember your new status.
Yeah, yeah. So we had a little ceremony on our ship for all the rest of the passengers because Barbara and I were the only shellbacks. And we made them crawl across the floor and kiss my toe and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, yeah. And then they could stand up and be recognized as shellbacks. And I had a crown and a sword, and it was a lot of fun. Yeah, I like that stuff. Yeah. Kelly, do you have any questions? Come on, put you on the spot. Okay, well, I want to say thank you to my family and my friends, my fellow circumnavigators, fellow sailors. Thank you all so very much for coming. I love you guys. Party on, and to your good health as well. Thank you all very much.